bonjour, kolego. O, ho, ho. Nawet libacjusz wpadł. Ponieważ się dużo działo, Tywery, jakbyś na szybko streścił libacjuszowi Abu Ghraib and Resident Evil in Tokyo twisty. Doskonale. Przypominam tylko, że rozumienie, co się dzieje, absolutnie nie jest wymagane do głosowania na dalsze decyzje. Bo jakby weddingi to tylko większy content. Also jak zaczniesz rozumieć, co się dzieje, to będziesz z kolegami oglądał post 9/11 anime na najbliższym zlocie G9, co trochę jest rzeczą, która się zdarzy. O, witam. Jak dobrze pójdzie, to może nawet honorowego Japończyka, ale póki co Polaka. Ono dzisiaj kolegów, ale tak myślę, że z jeszcze jedną piosenkę Kansano sobie poczekamy, to może Smiglew się też zdąży pojawić i potem ruszamy tak czy siak. Klasyk. To dobrze, że będziesz miał długiego streama przed sobą, bo to dziadostwo niestety zabiera czas, jak robisz ręcznie, zdecydowanie. A w ogóle to koledzy, póki tutaj się rozgrzewamy rozruch technologiczny, co w sumie u kolegów słychać? No niestety, niestety. Pogoda teraz jest taka zmienna, żeby akurat jebać wszystkich psykerów na nią podatnych. Dobra, zostało nam pół minutki i ruszamy. Już moja oryginalna Nintendo Wii odpalam. Wiecie, strapy od Wiimota na nadgarstku. Jeśli się gra włączy, jeśli nie postanowi teraz, nie wiem, kurwa, rekompilować shadera albo coś. Więc, kiedy zostawiliśmy ostatni stream, to jak właśnie widać spadła Resident Evil bomba na Japonię w umyśle Kenji'ego Osały, to skomplikowane. Tak, z Minoricą odkryliśmy, że został chłop aresztowany, bo tu się sypnął. O kurczę, nie pamiętam zupełnie już, co większość tych keep-outów robiła. Więc zamiast sprawdzić, zacznę od tego, który mi się wydaje, że wiem jak naprawić. Że kiedy Minoru Minorikawa chciał zrobić wywiad z szefem trupy teatralnej, ale nie wyszło. Postanowiliśmy czekać i przyszliśmy potem do Kenji'ego Osały, który już dostał rozstroju nerwowego i dał się aresztować i potem Resident Evil happened. To co jeśli nie będziemy czekali i pójdziemy zrobić zadymę i Kenji będzie zbyt zajęty zadymiarstwem, żeby zorientować się, że jest odpowiedzialny za genocyd. Tak zgaduję, że tu będzie. Oh well, I'll have to come back later. Minorikawa decided he'd better get to his next interview. He started to head back towards the taxi. The front door opened. Grim-looking man emerged, leading another man in handcuffs. Szlak, jednak nie. Minorikawa was standing in their way. Pardon us, the serious-looking fellow said. He gave Minorikawa a card bow as he passed by. A możemy skipować, czyli nic nie zmieniliśmy w timeline'ie. Unless nie wyszły nam dwa wywiady. Witam, Smigu. Postanowiłem odkręcić kwestię Kenji'ego przychodząc wcześniej do Minorikały, żeby zrobić inbę zanim się samo aresztuje. Nie wyszło. Ale chyba i tak zmieniłem timeline, bo dzięki temu mamy dwa spierdolone wywiady, które się nie udały, ale mamy czas pojechać na trzeci. A few minutes later, the rear tire skidded sharply as the cab came to a stop beside a different curb. The trip from Shoto to the theater in Sakuragaoka had taken almost no time at all. Here we are, sir, Kimizuka announced. Wow, that was fast. Yokohama's fastest legend. Still, Minorikawa was at least 5 minutes behind schedule. He hoped he'd still be able to get the interview with Orai. Orai to też... Aha, ten był z trupy teatralnej. Wow, kolejny keep out. Jesteśmy wszędzie kept out. Ale ponieważ to są keep outy, a nie bad endy. Okej, Mary dychała. To zobaczmy, gdzie mieliśmy jumpy, żeby... Okej, The Man o 14:30. Achi, to jest... To 14:30 Achi, yep, to Achiego możemy odblokować od Marii. To jest chyba poprzednia godzina. Kano gówno zrobił. Okej, i tutaj mieliśmy u Kenjiego jeszcze dwie opcje. Kano i chyba fejkowy drugi Kano, który będzie o późniejszej godzinie. Tak, bo Kano, który się w jakimś timeline'ie dostał do, nie wiem, laboratorium, whatever, i wie już o Resident Evil sekretach Kenjiego. Czyli w takim razie realistyczne opcje, które mamy, żeby to kontynuować, to odblokowanie Kano, gdzie mamy 2 unlocki już z głowy, albo Achiego Endo. I też bym się nie zdziwił, gdyby Kano nam potem odkręcał bad end Kenjiego. Będziemy nim sterowali i nie zadamy mu pytań o jego zbrodnie wojenne, to wiecie, nie dostanie pierdolca. Tak mi się wydaje, ale oczywiście głosy tutaj w waszych rękach. Carlos wie, że Real Yakuza votes for Achiendo. Czy mamy kontrgłosy? Okej. Real Yakuza votes for Achi. Więc... dla powracających, znaczy nie, no dla powracających, niedzielnych, że tak powiem, widzów, Maria Osawa, siostra Hitomi Osały, która była porwana, ale chodziła potem cały dzień z amnezją w stroju kota, a teraz chodzi bez stroju kota, miała częste kantery w Sega Arcade'zie z Achiem i Hitomi i coś jakby śmieszne przygody, bo obie wyglądają tak samo. I Achi biega i jest confused. Co gonią za nim arabscy terroryści. Achi took the escalator down to the 3rd floor. And there was Hitomi, standing right in the open, after he'd been searching for her high and low. There you are. I thought we were going to meet on the 2nd floor, Achi said. She stared back at him in confusion. Ah well, anyway. Próbuję rozkminić, jaki ma napis na tej koszulce. Poza tym, że jest bardzo taki meme template Arial font. Bo na końcu jest UT-head. To jest jakiś fucking, tylko przez FOO, że takie fucking, niby brytyjskie, nie. Potem znaczy K, nie X. O no. Jak ktoś teraz ma pomysły, to jeżeli trzymam niezajebane tekstem, bo... Chryste panie, co to za... Engrish do tej koszulce. Oh well, anyway. Come on, we have to go hide. Hide? Why? She gave him a dubious look. Achi felt like something was off, but now wasn't the time to dwell on it. Because those guys might have found us, he said. They're outside. He took hold of Hitami's hand. Hey, let's go! What gives? She quickly yanked her hand away. Huh? As Achi tried to make sense of the way she was acting, she took off down the corridor. Hey, Hitomi! He hurried after her. It was like changing her clothes had also changed her personality. Still, he couldn't just leave her alone. The kidnappers might well be closing in. He stayed in pursuit of her, trying not to draw too much attention. He headed in the direction Hitami had gone and came to a stairwell. What the hell is going on? Had she gone up? Or down? But she frowned in consternation. Hey! Stop right there! He heard shouting coming from down below. Then came the sound of footsteps rushing up the stairs. Hitomi? Was someone chasing her? She bolted down the stairs before he could mull over it too much. Down on the landing, he ran into a man who was pale in the face. You gotta help me! The man went and cowered behind Achi. Two thuggish-looking men came up the stairs after him. Cieszę się, że w końcu Achi wraca do prawdziwego Yakuza gameplayu z encounterem co skrzyżowanie i co klatkę schodową. Trochę było za długo rozmawiania o uczuciach, a za mało Yakuzy. Hand him over, kid. Yeah, don't make us do nothing we'll both regret. Two guys bullying for some frail old man? Achi huffed. And you want me to just turn a blind eye while that goes on? Yeah, that's not gonna happen. The younger fellow, the one who looked like a small-time gangster, sneered. Oh, you're gonna want to turn a blind eye to this, little man. This is gonna get bloody. By the way, Achi asked, either of you see a girl around here? Super cute, about it. Oof! The gangster suddenly threw a jab with his right fist, and Achi dodged on reflex. The punch wound up catching the man hiding behind him right in the face instead. Oh, whoops! Achi realized his mistake a moment too late. Oh! The man splayed out onto the floor. Whoa, my bad, Gramps. You okay? Achi hunkered down and slapped the man in the face. Hey, come on, stay with me. It's no use. I'm done for. Please, look after Hana. Mino, Rikawa. The man's muttering was all but incomprehensible. Hey, Achi said. This guy seriously needs to get to a hospital, or he's in big trouble. You guys, call an ambulance. He needs... When Achi looked back, the man in the sunglasses was standing over him, holding up a fire extinguisher. Why wait for an ambulance when the fire department's already here? The butt of the fire extinguisher came right down onto Achi's face. But I didn't call for the fire department. No i dziadzia i Kano, ale żeśmy się tutaj dopytali. No to tutaj jakieś ho. A kto było locked? Raczej to nie będą wybory wcześniejsze Achiego. A jak tu się z Mero klepaliśmy też potem z tymi typami, to może u niej będzie jakieś menedżowanie? Typu w tym shopping mallu. Ale niemniej najpierw specjalnie dla Smiga dupnąłbym Kano, bo jest, hej, pół godziny do tyłu. A jak będzie miała wpływ na coś, co się dzieje gdzieś indziej, to no jakby się dowiemy. Jest zbyt długo, wiecie, siedzieć, kombinować, dead endów. trochę sam tak średnio pamiętam, w którym dokładnie miejscu się zatrzymaliśmy ze wszystkim, więc w ten sposób to szybciej rozsypłamy. Sam się zbejtowałem, bo to był wcześniejszy jump. Okej, jesteśmy na forum dla 400-letnich fanów Ai Kamiki, na którym, jak się nie wiedzieliście, postuje też dziewczyna Shinji Kano. Od czasu do czasu. Faktoid, który nigdy nie wróci. Ale odblokował nam ścieżkę. Kuze's voice came in over the wireless as the car came out onto Meiji-dori. We've identified the owner of the condominium. To jest kondo, w którym jakby ten syndykat zbrodni ma swoje HQ, apparently. It's Mamoru Tanaka. A Tanaka to jest prawa ręka Kenji'ego Osały, któremu do niedawna ufał bezgranicznie. He's a colleague of Kenji Osawa. What? Kana squawked. This was an unexpected twist. Kajiwara confirms that Tanaka left the Osawa residence at just after 2 p.m. No word on his movements since then. It's possible he headed to his private condo, where the attaché case is slated to end up. Any officer who runs across Tanaka is to apprehend him on site. Kuze cut the connection. This mastermind you've been chasing? Kano asked. Is it Tanaka? Stanley didn't reply. Fine, never mind. I just wish I could know if Tateno is safe. Still worried about the traitor, huh? So Stanley could ignore all of his questions, but still remember to make snide remarks. Talking about Tateno is the only thing that gets a reaction out of you, isn't it? Kana snorted. What makes you so certain he can't be a traitor? Tateno just isn't like that. That's not an answer, Stanley scoffed. Alright, I've watched the man work for years. I know him. He has no reason to betray the Force. You've watched him work, huh? What about his private life then? You know all about that too? He hasn't had money trouble or anything like that? Kano felt his blood starting to boil. I don't care what you think, he said. I trust Detective Tateno. Trust him? On what basis? I don't need any basis to have faith in someone, Kano snapped. Without any basis in fact, it's just plain sentimentality, Stanley said. There's no reason or logic to it. A thin smile came to his face. Be they friends or family, you can never really know the other people. The only person you can trust is yourself. Kano had no response for such an emotionless statement. He looked away. He and Stanley were just plain incompatible. It seemed like no amount of talking could get them through to one another. Never take anything at face value, Kano. You start trusting too much, you're basically as good as dead. Kano just stared out the window. The Shibuya precinct came into view. Tanaka's condo wasn't much further now. They were outside of Tanaka's condo now. Over there, Stanley said, keeping his voice down. Across the street was one of the foreign syndicate members, walking briskly, the attaché case clutched at his side. I'm making the arrest! O nie, Kano! Kano, wait! Stanley exclaimed. Kolejny raz Kano bierze inicjatywę i spierdoli cały dzień policyjnej roboty. Kano heard him loud and clear, but he had no intention of stopping. He approached with the criminal at full speed, then leapt to tackle him around the waist. The two men fell to the pavement in a tangled heap. The collision sent the attaché case flying. Kano's eyes tracked the case for a moment too long. He was caught off guard when the man threw a punch at him. The blow caught him right in the jaw, snapping his head back. For a moment, Kano saw stars. As he shook off the impact, the man sprang to his feet and sprinted away in the direction of Stanley's car. "Stanley!" Kano shouted. No i właśnie, czy Stanley powinien zająć się walizką z okupem, która wędrowała po Tokio cały dzień w jakimś shenanigansowym skimie? Może jedna była ważna i wiecie, tutaj zmyłka zakończona? Czy no jednak trzeba najebać gościa, bo Kano sobie umiarkowanie z gościem radzi, a walizka nie ucieknie. O, mamy remis. Mamy remis. Dobra. Ja bym głosował na 1, ale jako nieczęsty gość zróbmy to po Carlosowemu. Get the case! Stanley headed for the attaché case, while Kano went after the suspect. Suddenly, the fleeing man skidded to a stop. Oh shit, czy to był dobry wybór actually? Albo nie mający znaczenia wybór? Several cars had pulled across the road ahead, and the detectives were pouring out of them. His escape route cut off. The criminal resigned himself to capture. While Kano helped make the arrest, several of the other detectives broke into Tanaka's condo. Stanley, meanwhile, was carefully inspecting the exterior of the attaché case. He'd already opened it. It was stuffed with bundles of banknotes. The 50 million ransom was back in police hands. "This is a decoy," the American muttered under his breath. "I wonder where..." His words trailed off, but Kano had heard them. "What did you expect?" the detective commanded. "Samples of that new drug in there?" As usual, Stanley gave no reply. The look on his face, however, told Kano he'd been right on the mark. Some of the backup team emerged from Tanaka's condo. Okej, czyli gdzieś w Tokio jest walizka z Resident Evil wirusem? Huh. Kano turned to them, feeling a sudden surge of anxiety for Maria. "What's the situation in there?" he asked. They told him that they'd found no one in Tanaka's rooms. So the hostage's status remained unknown, and the main culprit had evaded capture. This case hadn't been solved. In fact, it was still unfolding in the worst way conceivable. And still, Stanley remained focused on the attaché case, pondering it with a thoughtful expression. "Look," Kano told him, "I'm going to request that I be returned to my normal duties. Maria still needs to be rescued, and I still need to find out what happened to Hitami and Detective Tateno." For once, Stanley actually responded. "Hitomi? Yes, that's it. It makes perfect sense that they'd have her carry it." "Huh? What do you mean?" "This whole attaché case relay was a fake-out." "Whoa, slow down," Kano said, wishing he could calm himself with his words. "Explain what you're talking about." "Somehow, the kidnappers made contact with Kenji Osawa and got him to have Hitomi carry the drug separate from the ransom." "Wait, you're saying they had Hitomi bringing them the drug?" Stanley nodded. "The case handoffs were a sort of camouflage, a way for them to keep the police distracted from their real goal." Kano nodded. It had indeed felt like the case relay was a decoy, an attempt to buy time. If this syndicate, or if there was something else entirely, it would explain why so many of their actions had appeared to make no sense. So, Kano asked, what sort of drug is it, this? Why would they go to such lengths to get their hands on it? It's an antiviral, Stanley replied after some hesitation. A way to cure people infected with a very particular virus. What virus are we talking about? It's called UA. Kano never heard of it. Still, he could imagine the possibilities. Suppose this UA was something like the Ebola virus. Ebola. Discovered in Sudan in 1976. Infection causes Ebola hemorrhagic fever, resulting in a high fever and massive bleeding throughout the body. At present, there is no vaccine to prevent infection, nor any drug to cure the disease after it manifests. Or perhaps HIV. Human immunodeficiency virus. HIV destroys the cells that are essential for regulating cell-mediated immunity, considerably reducing immune response. This effect can result in infections that would ordinarily be fought off easily, developing into serious illnesses. There are various treatments, but as of yet, nothing that will eradicate the virus completely. Even the all-too-familiar influenza, an infectious disease caused by the influenza virus. Symptoms are similar to that of the common cold, but are much more severe, occasionally resulting in death. There are three main types of the virus, A, B, and C, with A and B causing the typical run of the illness in humans. Neuraminidase is recommended as an effective inhibitor, but this merely alleviates the symptoms and is not a complete cure. There are medicines that could treat all of those diseases, but nothing that could cure them completely. Any drug that could do that would be worth vast sums of money. Kano, do you have any means of getting in touch with Mr. Osawa? Yes. I know one of the detectives stationed at his home. Check in with him ASAP. Find out whether or not he gave the antiviral to Hitomi. Kano suppressed a scowl. It looked like he wasn't done assisting Stanley yet. He got out his cell phone and dialed up Kajiwara. Kajiwara picked up promptly. Kano? What's going on? Will I speak with Mr. Osawa? I suppose that'd be alright. What for, though? There's something I need him to confirm for me. It's an emergency. Alright. Just make sure not to tell him anything about the investigation. Sure thing. After a while, a man's hoarse voice came over the line. Osawa speaking. Can I help you? This is Detective Kano from the Shibuya precinct. Time is critical, so I need to just cut to the chase here. Kano took a deep breath. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? Osawa let out a gasp. Nie ma takiego kończenia storyline'u. A nie Spike Chunsoft, my tu mamy już swoje sposoby. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? So let out a gasp. What are you talking about? I'm the one asking the questions here, Mr. Osawa. Did you give the antiviral drug to your daughter Hitomi? I'm not sure I understand the question. Osawa's voice trembled as he spoke. Kano was sure he'd hit the nail right on the head. I know what the syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. No generalnie musimy powiedzieć coś. To może nie mieć znaczenia, ale to może odkręcić bad ending u Kenji'ego. Jak się Kenji za bardzo domyślił tego wirus plotu, to dostał pierdolca, się samo aresztował. Tylko właśnie tak jak Karos trochę myślę, że jak zrobimy tak, że chodzi o niego, tam starty daty okup, to nie będzie zbyt myślał o big picture Resident Evil wirusie i może to nam się upiecze. Tego też głosuję na 2, jedziemy z tematem. It's you, Osawa. Niepotrzebny nikomu jump point. Osawa remained silent. Mr. Osawa? Is everything alright? The line went dead. Kano, Stanley chided. I would have put it more like this. You're after Hitami because she has the antiviral. Yeah, I know that. But if you're after the antiviral, it makes the person who created it a potential target as well. Right? Ah, indeed. Looks like you do have some brains after all. Stanley flashed Kano a thin smile. Now it was clear why the criminals were after Hitami. He saw an uneasy look on Stanley's face. Something on your mind? Kano asked. Stanley responded with a question of his own. If Hitami was carrying the antiviral, how were the criminals planning on getting it from her? Kano thought for a moment. Well, taking her by force at the scramble posed too high a risk, he said. There were nearly 100 detectives there. They must have guessed there would be. That's why they devised the attaché case relay. They wanted to abduct Hitami somewhere away from the dragnet's notice. This was the plan that all the signs seemed to suggest. But still, he added, I wonder how they managed to lead her away from police protection. A look of revelation crossed Stanley's face. All they'd need to do was convince her to go on of her own accord. But how? Kano asked. And then it came to him. He thought back to Hitami's initial contact with Tariq al-Karawan. Just before he'd taken the attaché case from her, the two had a brief conversation. It was possible Al-Karawan had given Hitami some form of instructions then. Guess we're back to tracking down Al-Karawan again, huh? Kano could tell from the look in Stanley's eyes that he was on the verge of saying something. Probably some remark about how Tateno had allowed Al-Karawan to run free. Right now, Kano wasn't going to argue at the point. After this case was resolved, he'd discover what Tateno's real motives were. And once he did, Stanley would eat his words. In the meantime, we can't just wander around looking without any leads, he said. Until we get more intel, let's see what we can do with the security cameras back at the precinct. Numerous monitors shone down on the pair as they entered the Shibuya precinct surveillance room. No jak w Londynie, chłopaki, taka inwigilacja. Kurczę. Nawet jakieś dane telemetryczne widać, jak radiowozy jeżdżą. It showed an array of faces of individuals somewhere in Shibuya. Kano asked one of the operators to pull up Al-Karawan's data on screen. By selecting each of the faces on the monitors in turn, they could run comparisons to determine if anyone among them was Al-Karawan. One by one, the operator made his way through the faces. Assuming their target was still in Shibuya, there was a high likelihood they'd find him. But the minutes ticked past, and there was still no sign of him. Kano's tone grew more and more impatient as he directed the operator's search. Just calm down, Stanley said. He set a hand on Kano's shoulder. Keep wasting your energy when you don't need to. That's just how I do things, Kano replied. I'm energetic because I care. He pointed out another face to the operator. Well, you're setting yourself up for a short life. With a sigh, Stanley sank into a nearby chair. My brother was like you. The American spoke so quietly that his words were barely audible. 10 minutes later, a man clad in black appeared on one of the monitors. The operator lined up his cursor. The comparison check confirmed that it was Al Karawan. Yes! Kano hissed, pumping his fist. It appeared that their quarry was simply walking around town, calm and composed. Kano radioed in Al Karawan's location to Kuze. All units, intercept the suspect on the double, Kuze ordered. Kano will provide guidance using the surveillance monitors. They saw Al Karawan stop in front of a cigarette vending machine. Was he waiting for someone? Sasayama reporting. I've got eyes on the Matt. Matt, perpetrator. Hook, to put someone in cuffs. Tipper, pickpocket. Wants, outstanding warrant. Hung paper, to write multiple station. And other such traditional police jargon. Kano's partner had evidently been nearby. I'm making the arrest, he said. There was a note of courage in Sasayama's voice. He came into view on the monitor, walking casually. O! Trzeci cosplay detektywa. At some point, he ditched his anime nerd costume for a street dancer's getup. It did appear that Al Karawan had noticed him yet. Bit by bit, Sasayama closed the distance. Not much further now. Kano's hand balled into a fist as he watched. And then something unexpected happened. Another man came running into view, right in the middle of the monitor. Teruo Toyama, an redactor. While searching for Hana at Shibuya Gigo, was located by a duo of debt collectors and fled the scene. Hana left Gigo to find him, and ran into him here in Maruya Macho. The pair are heading toward Koendori, trying to find a place to hide. There was no sound, but they could see that the newcomer was shouting something. As Al Karawan turned to look at the man, Sasayama launched himself like a bullet from a gun. In an instant, Detective and Purple were locked in a violent scuffle right there on the street. Kano swallowed a lump in his throat as he watched the struggle unfold. Earlier in the day, Al Karawan had done a number on Sasayama, but this time the detective had the upper hand. He got a grip on Al Karawan's neck and kneed him repeatedly. Al Karawan tried desperately to bring Sasayama to the ground, but Sasayama braced himself and avoided the takedown. Then, he shifted his stance and took Al Karawan to the pavement with a spectacular hip throw. Szkoda, że nie wiedzieliśmy niczego z tej akcji. Yes! Kano clapped his hands together in excitement. Catching the perp in scarf hold, Sasayama got out his handcuffs. Scarf hold, a technique in judo, involves wrapping an arm around the opponent's neck while performing an upper body pin. Stanley, you should head to the scene, Kano said. He looked away from the monitor for a mere moment, and when he looked back, Sasayama had released his hold and crumbled to the ground. What? Panicked, Kano stared at the image of his friend. There was something jutting up from Sasayama's abdomen. Sumin! Kano cried frantically. The camera closed in on Sasayama. Now Kano could see exactly what he'd feared. Sasayama had been stabbed in the gut. Blood pooled on the pavement around him. Kano screamed, "Sasayama!" The camera showed several other detectives arriving at the scene, capturing Al Karawan before he could escape. But Sasayama lay motionless. The pool of blood around him spread further and further across the pavement. Unable to look any longer, Kano rushed from the surveillance room. No nie najlepiej. Ale z drugiej strony dojechaliśmy do końca godziny u Kano, więc Miglefie nie będziesz musiał więcej oglądać Kano. A z kolei timeline Kenjiego się chyba zmienił. I chyba uniknęliśmy bedendu. Nie każąc myśleć za dużo o wirusie faktycznie. Dobra decyzja, Carlos. I know what this syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. Osawa's mind went blank when he heard what Kano said next. He could give no reply. Mr. Osawa? The detective continued after a moment. Is everything alright? Without really thinking, Osawa hung up. Osawa staggered out of the living room. He needed to be alone. To his surprise, Kajiwara didn't try to stop him. Shutting his study door behind him, he dropped onto his sofa, then got out a bottle of pills. He stared at it, thinking back on what the detective had told him. I know what this syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. It's you. Detective Kano had a point. From a financial perspective, Osawa discoveries, and indeed Osawa himself, were incredibly valuable. Przepraszam, Tewery, czyli jakby wkręcasz wkręta, a potem i tak napierdalasz młotkiem, którego dziurę w jednym kawałku drewna. A wiesz co? Jeśli to jest to, co ja myślę, to w Ikei ten rodzaj wkręta jest zupełnie standardowy teraz. Nie, to jest teraz rynkowy standard. Pojebane, ale kinda cool technologia. Immersed as he was in his research, he had never imagined he'd become a target. The kidnappers had used that artlessness to catch him completely off his guard. He thought back to the emails that A had sent him. For now, they were just stringing him along, but before long, the guild bombs might turn into more direct threats. They would extort his money, steal his research, and finally have him killed. It was so easy to see what their plan was now. And the worst of it was, he wasn't their only target. Kidnapping Maria would only be A's first step. Osawa contemplated in horror how his family would all be victimized because of him. There was only one thing he could do. He poured the amount of sleeping pills out into his... Kenji, nie! Kenji, kurwa mać! Then, without any hesitation, he gulped down the lot. Okej, to może nie był najlepszy jednak wybór z naszej strony. Może trzeba było powiedzieć jego córeczce, którą bardzo kocha. The effect on his body was slow to start, but he felt a deep and irresistible drowsiness begin to creep over him. As his consciousness was starting to fade, he heard the distant sound of the front door chime. Moments later, the study door opened, and Kajiwara appeared inside to see Osawa lying on the floor. Mr. Osawa, are you okay? Mr. Osawa! The detective's voice was rapidly fading out. As Osawa surrendered to the irresistible urge to drift into sleep, his mouth gaped open. A has come for me. Those were his last words. Powiedziałbym, że nothing of value was lost, ale potrzebujemy, żeby Kenji żył jeszcze jakieś 4 godziny, żeby przejść tą gierkę. Więc chyba trzeba, żeby zamknął oczy i myślał o córeczce. It's Hitomi. Osawa remained silent. Mr. Osawa? Is everything alright? The line went dead. Guess that answers that well enough, Kano said as he put away his phone. Okej, i timeline wrócił już na właściwe tory, bo mogę przewijać. Kenji, kurwa, wszystko co musisz zrobić to otworzyć drzwi Minorikały. Czy to jest takie trudne? I know what this syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. Osawa's mind went blank when he heard what Kano said next. He could give no reply. Mr. Osawa? O, te wery taki jesteś Sasayama, Kor, żebyś wolał umrzeć. Mr. Osawa? The detective continued after a moment. Is everything alright? Without really thinking, Osawa hung up. Osawa staggered out of the living room. He needed to be alone. To his surprise, Kajiwara didn't try to stop him. Shutting his study door behind him, he dropped onto his sofa, then grabbed 3 times his normal dosage of stomach pills. There was no water in the room, so he had to swallow them dry. Okej, ale to ze zgagi dostał. To jakby... Córka i sleep to połowa stresu. To... Ranigast wystarczy. Detective Kano's words echoed in his mind. I know what this syndicate is really after, Mr. Osawa. It's Hitomi. There was only one reason they could be after Hitomi. He broke out in a cold sweat as he began to understand what this kidnapping was really about. It had all started 6 days earlier. It was April 22nd. Osawa had just returned from the United States the day before. He was in the midst of some routine work at the General Research Lab when his cell phone rang. Powiem jako taką ciekawostkę, bo mnie ciekawi, że mam w sumie japońską klawiaturę IRL, ale na caps locku mam tylko caps locka, a nie mam japońskiej ściągi, czym jest caps lock. I też klawisz tyldy, to jest jakiś absolutnie zajebany znaczkami. A u mnie jest po prostu jedna litera japońska, więc what the fuck. Ale przede wszystkim, patrzcie, co za jakieś pojebaństwo jest koło tej malutkiej spacji. To nie jest klawisz Windows, bo klawisz Windows ma znaczek Windows, to nie jest Ctrl ani Alt, ani Shift. To jest jakaś gówniana multimedialna klawiatura z jakimiś magicznymi feature'ami. Pojebany. Na czym ty pracujesz, Kenji? The LCD display showed an unlisted color. With some hesitation, Osawa picked up. Hello? Is this Kenji Osawa? The caller was using a voice modulator. A type of device or software used to make one's voice sound different. Changing a voice to the point of making a voice print or tone analysis impossible presents a major challenge. To be able to do so in real time requires major financial and technological resources. Osawa raised an eyebrow. Yes? Go and analyze Hitomi's blood. Her blood? If you don't, she's going to die. With that, the caller hung up. There was an intensity behind this call that made Osawa sure it wasn't just some prank call. He had Hitomi coming to the lab ASAP. He told Hitomi he wanted a sample of her blood for an experiment. She agreed, suspecting nothing. He placed some of the blood he'd drawn onto a glass slide and added some fluorescein, a type of fluorescent dye. Fluorescein, a yellow-green liquid, a type of fluorescent dye, chiefly used in preparing specimens for viewing under a fluorescent microscope. It has other uses as well, such as a diagnostic reagent administered in eye exams. Its highest volume use is on St. Patrick's Day, when massive amounts of fluorescein are used to dye the Chicago River green. Fluorescent dye, a type of dye that causes the dyed substance to emit higher wavelength fluorescent light when illuminated with a certain other type of light. Such dyes can reveal fine details when used on specimens viewing through a fluorescent microscope. Placing the slide under the fluorescence microscope, he took a look. It can't be. Osawa could hardly believe his eyes. Wriggling under the microscope was the Grim Reaper's sickle itself. There was no mistaking it. Hitomi was infected with the UA virus. Trembling, Osawa hurried to his computer. He opened the UA virus folder on his monitor. Within were images showing the stages of the virus's propagation. He double-clicked to magnify the first image. The Reaper's sickles were interlocked with one another. He clicked on the next image. After further propagation, the UA virus looked less like a sickle, more a sort of insectoid larva. Next was the final image. Interlocked in the single mass, the UA virus vaguely resembled a sinister, many-petaled sunflower. It took a mere 12 hours for the pathogen to develop to this point and begin its hideous destruction of the human body. Hitomi's infection sample was still in the state shown in the first image. There was still a chance to save her. Osawa slumped back in his chair, huddling on himself. He had no choice. There was only one way to save Hitomi. He would have to administer the nearly completed antiviral. A pozdrawiam Iwonę. Using the antiviral without official approval was a grievous violation of company policy. Acting against company rules and regulations. Okoshi Pharmaceutical prohibits leaking work-related information to outsiders. In the case of a major violation, not only can the violator be fined, but the company may also seek indemnities. Still, Osawa didn't have time to get the higher-ups to approve a clinical trial. He might be punished severely for it, but this was his only option. His daughter's life was at stake. There was also another, even bigger hurdle in his way. The antiviral drug was stored in the deepest recesses of the biochemical research building. A high-intensity X-ray scanner was set up at the entrance to the storage area. This made it impossible for him to take research materials out. X-ray, a type of radiation, also referred to as Röntgen rays, the shorter wavelength than the UV light, but a longer wavelength than gamma rays. Because X-rays can penetrate many objects with little absorption or scattering, they can be used to create images of internal structure. Hospitals, for example, use X-ray technology to examine the insides of patients' bodies, while security personnel use it to scan luggage at airports and to search for bombs. Well, if he couldn't get the antiviral out of there, he'd just have to bring Hitomi in. A course of action quickly took shape in his mind. First, he'd need to slip out of the general research building. He would then head to the biochemical research facility and show his ID card to the guard at the front gate. ID card. Identification card. Many facilities that carry out highly classified research assign different levels of security clearance to individual researchers, and only those with suitable clearance, as indicated by their ID cards, are admitted to the restricted areas. Development of more advanced technologies, such as electronic ID tags, are replacing older barcode type entry cards. After passing through a lobby, under the watchful gaze of several security cameras, he reached an elevator at the end of the hall, going directly to the storage section. This elevator required an ID card scan to operate. To take about 20 seconds to get down to the first basement level and arrive at the entrance to the storage area. Finding an excuse to get Hitomi that far ought to be doable. If the security guard got suspicious, Osawa could say it was for a top secret hematology experiment, and the guard would probably believe him. The problem was what came after. Getting in the storage area itself required fingerprint authentication from both Osawa and Tanaka. This meant that he couldn't possibly get to the antiviral without Tanaka's cooperation. Desperate with uncertainty, Osawa called up Tanaka. He frantically explained the situation. "Understood," Tanaka replied. "We need to get her this drug as soon as possible. If the company finds out about this, we'll be held accountable for violation of corporate policy along with me. Are you sure you're okay with that?" "What are you talking about? Hitomi's life is more important than company policy." Tanaka spoke without hesitation. Osawa felt an immense surge of gratitude for his assistant. "And I have to say, I'm deeply moved by your determination," Tanaka added. "Moved? Whatever for? You really are worried about Hitomi." Osawa's gratitude faded. "What are you talking about? Of course I am. My apologies. It's just that putting your career on the line for something so personal is... It's what? It's not like me? No, well... Yes. I'm sorry." Now, Tanaka's voice was colored with embarrassment. "Just what sort of person do you think I am?" Osawa resisted the urge to ask the question out loud. A short time later, Osawa and Tanaka stood before the door to the secure storage area. The security guard had let them in without the slightest suspicion. Osawa pressed his index finger to the fingerprint scanner first. Accepted. He realized he'd been holding his breath as his authorization finally went through. Half a moment later, Tanaka touched his own finger to the scanner plate. Accepted. The lock released with an audible clang, and the heavy door opened. Osawa hurried to retrieve the antiviral. As he picked up a small vial, he had a sudden realization. They were finally going to use the drug in a human test. His fatherly wish to cure Hitomi was overlaid by an intense rush of curiosity, the researcher's drive to discover his results. Hurry. I need to hurry. I need to administer the antiviral as soon as possible. Osawa could hardly fend off his excitement. Over the course of the next few hours following the injection, the UA virus would be eradicated from Hitomi's body. There had been some fever and cramping as temporary side effects, but the DDS had done a spectacular job of stomping out the virus. Drug delivery system, also known as smart drug delivery. The ability to target a specific region of the body with a specific drug has momentous implications for the future of medicine. DDS technology is currently being tested extensively around the world. In saving his daughter's life, Osawa had proven the value of his research. If he had been asked which made him happier, he would have been hard-pressed to give an answer. Afterwards, he asked Hitomi where she could have become infected, but she had no idea. He explained the need for secrecy, and strictly forbade her from telling anyone else what had happened. Now, a week had passed since Osawa gave the drug to Hitomi. He'd been conducting checks and had discovered that the DDS had not broken down, but remained in Hitomi's bloodstream. Extracting the DDS was a simple matter, requiring just a small blood sample from around the nape of the neck. The DDS tends to linger in the nape of the neck because of the lymph nodes located there. These lymph nodes identify viruses that invade the body as foreign substances to be attacked, but they are not always able to overcome particularly powerful pathogens. In such cases, the virus propagates rapidly inside of them. Once the patient has been treated, the antiviral will seek out the virus and accumulate there as well. Czyżby cały czas chodziło jednak o nanomaszyny, a nie o Resident Evil wirusa? Czy robimy też MGS suddenly? Wszystko jest możliwe w tej gierce. The DDS itself was simply the delivery system for the antiviral drug. Residual amounts of the antiviral itself stayed behind within the cells. Residual. Jak ja kocham przypisy u Kenji'ego. The materials used to create the DDS must, as a matter of course, cause minimal or no harm to the human body. Ideally, rather than accumulate inside the body, DDS substances should be either digested and absorbed or excreted. Because the antiviral must remain in the body for as long as the virus is active, however, a very careful balance must be struck between persistence and dissipation. Using the DDS, it was possible to extract those minuscule amounts from cells in the blood sample. It might take considerable time, but a sufficiently detailed analysis would allow for the antiviral drug itself to be reconstructed. Osawa felt a chill as he contemplated the situation. The kidnappers had known how tough security was at the lab, so they'd come up with the idea of using a human vessel to get what they needed from within. By infecting Hitomi with the UA virus, they had ensured that she'd receive the antiviral, that she'd have it in her blood. If Tanaka was working with the kidnappers, that explained why he'd been so cooperative about the fingerprint scanner. Damn it! Osawa shouted. He clutched his head in his hands. Tanaka had been his partner and trusted confidant for years. Osawa refused to believe he'd been betrayed like this. The front door chime sounded. Jaki wspaniały emocjonalnie moment, żeby się wpierdolić w wywiad z Minorikawa, co nie? Mr. Osawa? Kajiwara called out. It appears you have a visitor. Could you handle that? Who could it possibly be? Now of all times. O, nawet nie głosuję, oczywiście, że... Panie Minorikawa, idziemy, alright. With a sigh, Osawa dragged himself to his feet. He stumbled wearily back to the living room, where the investigators were staring at the intercom monitor with concern. The intercom's hidden camera showed a man with an unsettling grin posed intimidatingly outside the front gate. Osawa didn't recognize him. Yes, who is it? He asked guardedly through the intercom. It's Minorikawa. Where might I know you from, Mr. Minorikawa? Oh, you know, here and there. I mean, there's really only one Minorikawa, really. Are you playing games with me? I don't have the time for that. Please, just open up. There's no way I'm letting you in, Osawa said. But the nonsensical badgering continued. Look, just hold your horses. I'm here for an interview. You got that? An interview? That's right. It's a piece for the 4-star General Gossip. The name of the magazine brought up an unpleasant memory. That was the gossip rag that had run the article about his political marriage. Wait, this is for one of those kinds of articles? What do you mean, those kinds of articles? I'm just looking for an interview. The man's tone was both high-handed and belligerent. Like hell you are. I'm not talking to anyone from the gossip. You're not the one I'm here to talk to. I want to interview your twin daughters. My daughters? I understand they won a shared prize for a beauty contest at Midoriyama Academy. If you wouldn't mind my interviewing them, I... Furious, Sawa cut off the intercom. This was no time to be indulging someone else's nonsense. What gives? The man was shouting so loud, his voice carried past the gate and through the front door. I'm begging out here, on my hands and knees! He wasn't actually on his hands and knees. Osawa could see that clearly through the intercom monitor. If your daughters aren't home, can you at least tell them I want to get in touch with them? Mr. Osawa, Kajiwara said, frowning. This isn't a good time to have someone drawing attention to your home. Alright, I'll get rid of him. Osawa hurried out of the house, fronting Minorikawa through the front gate. The journalist had that tenacious look that immediately marked him as a member of the media. Give me your business card, Osawa said. I'll have them get in touch with you later. He took Minorikawa's card and went right back inside. Back in his study, Osawa tossed Minorikawa's business card into the trash. Unable to think what else to do, he tried the internet fortune teller again. Hell yeah, bot z forum dla 4-letnich fanów Aika Miki. He got the same, you're a very work-minded person result, a second time. If you don't get over your indifference to the world might start to harbor quite a grudge. My indifference to the world around me, huh? The truth was that, even with his closest companions, even with Tanaka for instance, his relationship has always had been strictly a matter of business. He'd never really taken it upon himself to get to know Tanaka as a person. And that was pretty much the case for everyone he knew. He harbored no interest in other people. He had no concern for his fellow man. That had made itself abundantly clear when he received a microscope as a birthday present way back in 1st grade. Even now, he still remembered the shock he'd felt when he looked through that lens for the first time. He discovered a new, almost infinite world hidden in the midst of one he'd always thought was too small. By comparison, the real world seemed bland and ugly. Wherever he looked, wherever he went, he had to contend with tedium. It hadn't taken long for him to become more charmed by the world under his microscope than the one around him. It was like a calm, quiet little seaside, a beach where he could just sit and stare out at the waves. He wanted to stay immersed in that world forever and ever. Micro-waifu master race. Before he knew it, he was an adult, and then a husband, and then a father. People around him thought him an odd fellow, but he hadn't let that change the way he lived his life. And this, now, was the result. He hadn't been betrayed by Tanaka. He did know Tanaka well enough for that. Find a way to connect more deeply with the people around you and start living a better life before it's too late. Just do that, and you're sure to have a wonderful future ahead. Dziękuję. Ayaka Miki... chatbocie. Znaczy w sumie Ayaka Miki Facebook teście. Osawa picked up his cell phone and dialed Tanaka's number. I had tried calling him repeatedly, but hadn't gotten through. It was doubtful that he'd pick up. Still, Osawa had to try. The phone rang several times. He listened grimly to the empty mechanical sound, preparing himself for disappointment. What is it? Tanaka sounded coldly in Osawa's ear. The tension was electric. Oh snap! Jesteśmy na bezpośrednim połączeniem z... być może mastermindem tego całego plotu. I zmieniliśmy timeline Minorikały. Apparently. Nie będę tutaj czekał, bo ten wywiad się nie odbył. Może ponieważ nas inaczej spławi... inaczej nas spławi... Kenji, to ten trzeci jakoś inaczej się potoczy. Zwłaszcza mamy unlock od Kenjiego. Oh well, I'll have to come back later. Nirikawa decided he'd better get to his next interview. He started to head back toward the taxi. To się nie mogę czytać? To jest kłopotliwe, kiedy gram w grę o czytaniu. Suddenly, a man's voice came through the intercom. Yes, who is it? He sounded rather guarded. It's Minorikawa! Kocham. Pokazywanie paluchem nawet na interkom. Ale to fajną machawirę Osawa, muszę przyznać. Where might I know you from, Mr. Minorikawa? Oh, you know, here and there. I mean, there's only one Minorikawa, really. Are you playing games with me? I don't have the time for that. Please, just open up. There's no way I'm letting you in. This discussion was getting them nowhere. Minorikawa decided he'd have to take the direct approach. Look, just hold your horses. I'm here for an interview. You got that? An interview? He'd taken the bait. Most folks could hardly resist the word interview. That's right. It's a piece for 4-star general gossip. Wait. This is for one of those kinds of articles? The man sounded angry now. What do you mean, those kinds of articles? I'm just looking for an interview. Like hell you are. I'm not talking to anyone from the gossip. You're not the one I'm here to talk to. I want to interview twin daughters. My daughters? No parent would deny their children a chance for word of their achievements to spread. I understand they won a shared prize for a beauty contest at Midoriyama Academy. If you wouldn't mind my interviewing them, The intercom cut out before Minorikawa could finish. Hey, what gives? I'm begging out here, on my hands and knees. He wasn't actually on his hands and knees, but whoever was on the other end couldn't see that. If your daughters aren't home, can you at least tell them I want to get in touch with them? He wasn't even using intercom now. He was just shouting over the gate. A man stepped out of the front door. Give me your business card, he said. I'll have them get in touch with you later. The man had a somewhat stricken look on his face. This had to be Kenji Osawa then. Wait, hold on. Osawa? Now Minorikawa recognized him. This was Kenji Osawa, the preeminent virologist who worked for Okashi Pharmaceutical. First original gossip had run a scandalous article on him in the past. Minrikawa remembered reading it. He held out his business card, and Osawa snatched it from him. The virologist started to head back into his house. Please see that they get back to me, Mr. Osawa! Minrikawa shouted after him. And then, he noticed something odd. It was the middle of the afternoon, but every window in the house had its curtains drawn. That, combined with Osawa's demeanor, set off alarm bells in Minrikawa's head. He knew he was onto something, but he couldn't linger at the Osawa residence any longer than he already had. He needed to get to that theater ASAP. He hurried back to the taxi and told Kimizuka to go. A few minutes later, the rear tires skidded sharply as the cab came to a stop beside a different curb. The trip from Shoto to the theater in Sakuragaoka had taken almost no time at all. Here we are, sir, Kimizuka announced. Oh, that was fast. Still, Minrikawa was at least 5 minutes behind schedule. He hoped he'd still be able to get the interview with Ori. Endless Space Definitive Edition, moim zdaniem to jest nudny Forex. Nie mam konkretnie, żeby się przypierdolić, po prostu jest strasznie nudny. Ale jak jest za darmo, to możesz sobie pograć w Forexa. Chyba lepiej studię odgrzeć. Czy wiesz, za darmo może jest warto kliknąć sobie, zobaczyć, może tobie się spodoba. To jest gra Amplitude'u, więc art design ma bardzo dobry, ale no nie wiem, no gameplay jest po prostu I sleep. Dwójka zresztą też ima. Minrikawa got his wallet out of his jacket to pay the driver. Oh no, Kimizuka said, waving a hand. Don't worry about the fare. Oh, why not? There's still plenty left over from what you paid me earlier, sir. That's what I meant by special fare. That's right. He'd paid Kimizuka a whole 10,000 yen for taking him to Endo Electronics earlier. But I mean, I'm not the sort of person to keep the change, as it were, Kimizuka said. Minrikawa felt a surge of pride at those words. You're my kinda guy, Mr. Kimizuka. A man on the job can always count on Hachiro Kimizuka's taxi. The driver grinned. Now go. Oh, now go on. Go. Thank you. I have a feeling we'll meet again. As Minrikawa entered the theater lobby, he saw a bunch of flower bouquets, patrons' gifts of appreciation. Among the names of the senders were celebrities he recognized. The largest of the bouquets was sent by Koichi Nakamura of the secret society Chunsoft. The next largest came from Marutaro Ishihara from the government organization Joyart. Following that were those from actress Barako Rose, popular scenario writer Ebisu Ipponmatsu, Tohoku Busters Co. Limited, bus guide Kimiko Amo, professional baseball player Masa Narikio, the ventriloquist Shin Shin, ukulele player Hawaii Matsuda, online TV critic Genza Akitsu, and so on. Mam nadzieję, że macie zasubowanego Genza Akitsu. Evidently, the Wandering Angels were a pretty popular acting troupe. Episode 4. Podoba mi się, że ta historia dnia Wandering Angelsów jest tak rozrzucona, żeby absolutnie kurwa nikt nie pamiętał jak idzie. Novice actor Takuya Amo, despite his nervousness, gave a creditable performance as Shido as the production got underway. But as the show continued, his inexperience became apparent. He went on stage for the big war action scene, having forgotten to attach himself to the rigging. Tozuka was quick to act, rushing on stage in the improvised role of assassin with an Endo accent #1, and fixing a rope to Amo's back during the confusion. People were setting out pamphlets and flyers out on a nearby table. There was a palpable tension in the air. The crew seemed skittish as they went about their work. "He's late!" someone shouted all of a sudden. It was a man over in one corner of the lobby, railing angrily to nobody in particular. Why the hell hasn't that journalist shown up yet for the interview? Looked like he'd been waiting on Minorikawa then. What's his deal? Pulling this while we were this busy. Guess that's Shinosuke Orai. I've been busy myself, Minorikawa said, keeping his composure. Trust me, I know how it goes. Huh? Who the hell are you? I'm the guy you've been waiting for. Mr. Orai? The man glared at him. It's Orai, he said. Anyway, I'm Minorikawa. Sorry to keep you waiting. Though really, a short wait is a small price to pay for the chance to be interviewed by me. Well, I hope you appreciate how valuable my time is, now that you're taking it, snapped Orai. Wow, someone sure has a high opinion of himself, Minorikawa replied. He marched up to Orai. Damn right I do. I'm Shinosuke Orai. The theaterman got right up in Minorikawa's face. Like anyone even cares. A jolt of tension sparked between the two men. Around this time, there's a similar jolt of tension between two other people, Kenji Osawa and Mamoru Tanaka. I beg your pardon, Eume interrupted. But Mr. Orai does have a schedule to keep. And who are you, Miss Tsukuzawa? I'm the producer. Well, listen, Sue, I'm in the middle of an interview here. Please don't interrupt. What? That's how you conduct an interview? That's right. This is how I roll. Look, whatever. Orai growled. Let's just do this already. Fine by me. The two men sat down on opposite sides of a table in the lobby. Tsukuzawa spoke up again. Ulubiony element w konstrukcji śrubek. Jak można najmniejszy, ktoś upada na ziemię. Nieironicznie, god tier technologia, śrubokręt magnetyzowany. Znajdź największy Cult of Life upgrade śrubokrętu, jaki widziałem w życiu. Tsukuzawa spoke up again. Mr. Orai, don't forget the meeting you have after this. Yeah, handle that, would you? Minorikawa let out a derisive snort. It's like you're holding court, he said. Do people actually hang around you? Do people actually hang around you with that kind of attitude? You have no right to judge my acting troupe. Minorikawa straightened up in his chair, a mocking smile on his lips. Oh, so it's your acting troupe, huh? He said. Why not just play all the roles yourself? Heck, you could even be your own audience. How dare you? Orai rose to his feet and made to leave, but Tsukuzawa herded him back down into his chair. Minorikawa continued, as if he hadn't heard. Just what is it that you do, anyway? He asked. Orai raised an incredulous eyebrow. You don't know? No, why should I? You came to an interview without knowing anything about who you were interviewing? Yep. That's it. Get out! Orai roared and pointed angrily toward the exit. How dare an unmannered clod like you come in here and waste my time? Hey, who's being unmannered now? I came all the way out here to hear your story, didn't I? Why don't you get out? Minorikawa pointed at the exit as well. Why the hell should I have to leave? Orai demanded. This is my house! theater jargon for the theater itself, especially the main auditorium. Look, just get out! This time, both yelled and pointed toward the exit in unison. Sukazawa quickly interposed herself between them, forcing a smile. Gentlemen, please calm down, she said. Then, she turned to Minorikawa. You should be aware that Mr. Ora used to be a broadcast writer. Someone who writes for television or radio programs. A great show depends not only on the actor's performances, but on the skills of the broadcast writer. He's responsible for a lot of big hits. You don't need to mention that, Ora grumbled. Nonetheless, Sukazawa rattled off the names of several shows. Minorikawa did indeed recognize many of them. He murmured. So, how come you're running a failing theater now? Failing? Ora went red in the face. I'm not wrong, am I? You are absolutely the rudest person I have ever met. What would a rank amateur like yourself know about theater? Ora's face was dark with rage. But Minorikawa didn't back down. Listen, this has nothing to do with how well your theater is or isn't doing, he snapped. The television world wouldn't accept you. So in order to retain your pride as an entertainer, you started doing theater. Isn't that so? Don't act like you know anything. I've staked my entire life on the theater. It seemed as if Ora might throw a punch at any moment. Sure, a city theater might seem small time compared to TV, but you get a lot more of a response from it. Response? Oh, that sounds interesting. Darn right, Ora exclaimed. You can see it from up on stage. The audience, you can see their faces. There was a passion in Ora's voice now. You can really feel it. When the audience is enjoying themselves, you can feel that energy. You can't get that from doing television. Thinking back on it now, my time spent working on TV, let's see what's a good analogy. It's like being handed a towel that's already damp. No, that's not right. Okay, so a better analogy would be... And without a further preamble, Ora began talking about his tribulations back in his broadcast writer days. Minorikawa smiled inwardly. The interview ended promptly after 15 minutes, the time that had been promised. Both men emerged from it as if from a daze. Minorikawa found himself staring Ora in the face, shaking him by the hand. So, what kind of story did I just get? He asked, speaking half to himself. You heard about one man and his life. And I have to admit, it was a good interview. Thanks. You have my gratitude. With a satisfied smile, Minorikawa closed his notebook. Right. Glad to hear that then. Ora inclined his head, looking a bit bewildered. A flustered Sukazawa interrupted. Mr. Minorikawa, wasn't this interview for a piece about the performance? Huh? Minorikawa blinked. It's just that you were only asking about Mr. Ora and not about the performance itself, Sukazawa said. Oh, I see what you mean. Actually, I came here for a piece I'm going to be writing called... Where are they now? Washed Up Broadcast Writer Showcase. Washed up? Ora was red in the face all over again. You bastard, how dare you! Forget everything I just told you. I do not give you my permission to use it in your magazine. You're too late. What? I have already heard your whole story. Should be grateful that I'll be writing a piece on it. You bastard! With a wild look in his eyes, Ora snatched up a hammer the stage crew had left nearby. To nie będzie znaczący wybór, ale muszę mieć czas na wypicie herbatki, więc Pozwolę wam go podjąć. A póki głosujecie, to powiem, że to jest jeden z powodów, dla którego lubię Minorika jako postać, że ma taką właśnie Disco Elysium energię bycia kompletnie dysfunkcyjnym inwiarzem, ale in a way jest przy tym kinda kompetentnym dziennikarzem na swój sposób. Go ahead, hit me. Oh, I'll hit you, alright. Or I wave the hammer menacingly. But the attack came to a sudden halt as a ringtone startled him out of his fury. Hold on a moment, Minorikawa said brightly. I have to take this. He whipped out his cell phone. Hello, Minorikawa speaking. This is Osawa. Wow, he'd called back a lot sooner than Minorikawa had expected. Have your daughters come home then? No, actually, there's a favor I'd like to ask you. A favor? Minorikawa thought back to his visit to the Osawa residence. The drawn curtains? The stricken look on Osawa's face? Minorikawa's instincts had sensed something significant going on. Apparently, getting the full story wasn't going to come without some costs. A favor, huh? Is it something urgent? I'll pay whatever I have to. I just need you to look into something as quickly as possible. His voice had the telltale desperation of a man who'd been backed into a corner. Alright, Minorikawa said. I can help you out for a little while. Osawa hurriedly explained what he was after. The request was a strange one. He wanted Minorikawa to look into a scandalous article that forced general gossip had run about him in the past. What makes this so important? Do I have to say? I mean, you're asking me to look into something without explaining anything. He eyed Ori, lurking nearby with obvious irritation. Minorikawa would need to calm down the erstwhile broadcast writer, or else his interview really would be for naught. He decided to bluff both men at the same time. Let me just say one thing, he said into the phone. He made sure he spoke loud and clear so that Ori would overhear. I want to tell the world this story. No, I need to tell it. If I don't feel that way about something, no amount of money in the world will get me to write an article on it. That's my pride as a writer at work. Minorikawa could see Ori's aura of age fading as he listened. The theaterman looked surprised. Phew. Meanwhile, Osawa had decided to open up a bit. Alright, he said. I can't share all the details, but... Okay, he's in a talkative mood now. Good job, Minorikawa. See? This is going fine. The power balance of the entire world might be at stake here, Osawa continued. And I mean that quite literally. I can tell you more after you're done investigating. Wait, was he serious? How could the world's balance of power hinge on looking into some alleged marital affair? It was so absurd that Minorikawa had to fight the urge to burst out laughing. A person would need to be out of his mind to believe a story like that. But Minorikawa wasn't the average person. And sometimes the truth was so ridiculous, it really was stranger than fiction. So I wasn't lying. Minorikawa's instincts told him that much. Alright, he said. I checked the editing department's notes from back then. Minorikawa felt his excitement building. Things were really getting interesting. For the moment, he nearly forgot Toyama and his troubles. When he ended the call, Ori approached him, extended his hand. Listen, Your methods might be a little extreme, but I can tell you take pride in your work. Of course I do. I'm sorry for getting so worked up. I bet you'd write a fine article about me. So please, Mr. Minorikawa, let the world know about me and my half-lived life. Minorikawa took the offered hand and shook it. Leave it to me. Once I'm done with it, you won't just be some washed-up nobody anymore. Mr. Orai? It's Orai. Minorikawa grinned. Minorikawa rushed out of the theater. He'd completed all the interviews that he could get done before 4 o'clock. Now, he had an hour left to write it all up to convince the folks from the loan company that the gossip could stay afloat. Wrong! He let out a roar, psyching himself up for the final push. To co? Jeszcze jedna godzinka i idziemy do drukarni. I tak od razu, skoro tu już jest zazębione, to możemy Kenji'ego skończyć. A ci to czuję, że to będzie jeden wybór właśnie gdzieś w tym molu i też dojdzie do końca i sobie zaczniemy godzinę 15. Osawa picked up his cell phone and dialed Tanaka's number. The phone rang several times. He listened grimly to the empty mechanical sound, preparing himself for disappointment. What is it? Tanaka's voice sounded coldly in Osawa's ear. The tension was electric. Osawa felt a surge of outrage. He wanted to scream, but he took a deep breath and managed to maintain control. Tanaka? Where are you? Is Maria alright? Tanaka did not reply. The police told me. They said you were connected to the kidnapping. A soft chuckle came from the other end of the line. Ah, well. The police sure do know how to do their jobs. Tanaka's tone was unapologetic. He sounded nothing like the man Osawa thought he knew so well. Why would you do this? Money? Are you having money troubles? Money? Tanaka replied. I suppose that's part of it. Honestly, I doubt you'd understand. Do you have any idea what it's been like for me, doing our research together? You're always the one who takes center stage. The fruits of our success are all yours, even though you couldn't have done any of it without me. The more he said, the more vitriol seeped into his words. Osawa's hand trembled as he clutched the phone. The taker can never understand how it feels to be taken from. You've hoarded so many things to yourself, so I'm taking some of them back. And with that, he hung up. Hey, Tanaka! Osawa dialed the number again, but Tanaka didn't pick up. Osawa racked his brain, thinking back on how Tanaka had been acting earlier that day. Had there been anything unusual? Any clue at all, no matter how small? If he could find some hint, maybe he'd be able to find Maria and Hitomi. That was it. I had been suspicious of Tanaka all along, so much so that she'd planted a bug on him hidden in a tie clip. Her suspicions must have been pretty strong. Wait. Osawa recalled what Kajiwara had said. But still, if she is that worried, giving a tie clip as a gift is a bit... The words had struck Osawa as odd as when he first heard them. I had never given him a tie clip. His heart gave a heavy throb in his chest. It couldn't be. No, it was impossible. That article from Forster Journal Gossip crept back into his mind. The article had talked about a man Ai had dated before she married Osawa. The man's identity was never revealed. Could it have been Tanaka? You've hoarded so many things to yourself, so I'm taking some of them back. Tanaka's cold word took on a new depth of meaning. Osawa felt the foundations of his life begin to crumble. Were Tanaka and Ai accomplices in all this? No, wait. Just calm down. He couldn't let himself jump to conclusions. He had to be more level-headed. Everything depended on it. If the two really were accomplices, why would Ai have planted the bug on Tanaka? What purpose would that serve? What could it mean? It was no use. Osawa couldn't think of how that made sense. First things first. He needed to establish what the relationship between Ai and Tanaka really was. Once he figured that out, he'd be able to get a better handle on the situation. Obviously, he couldn't just go and ask Ai directly. If she really were involved in all this, she certainly wouldn't tell him the truth. Osawa thought back to the business card he'd tossed into the trash. He didn't relish the thought of getting help from that scavenging hyena, but now was no time to be picky. If he wasn't able to leave the house, he needed someone else to do some investigating for him. The freelance writer, Minoru Minorikawa. He was Osawa's only hope. Dum, dum, dum. To, czyżby został nam tylko Achi? Owszem. I to prawdopodobnie któryś z wyborów Umari. Ale trochę nie pamiętam, co dokładnie się działo, więc sobie pozwolę na hinta. While chasing after Hitomi, Achi had run with some Yakuza and got beaten up. But actually, the girl Achi was following wasn't Hitomi. In order for Achi to avoid this disastrous fate, that girls need to run off in different direction. Dziękuję, pan gra. Czyli to był tutaj ten wcześniej... Tutaj Achi wpada na nią i zamiast spokojnego miejsca idziemy na inne piętro. For now, maybe I should head to another floor. I hurry toward the bank of elevators. Well, if it isn't Tama! What a coincidence! It's Yanagishita again. I try to walk on by like I don't notice him, but it's already too late. Huh? Hey! Where did your boyfriend go? Boyfriend? I have no clue what he's talking about. Anyway, perfect timing. Can you give me back that magazine? Nothing you're saying is making any sense. I peer at him in confusion. Once again, Yanagishita looks like he might start to cry. Don't tease me like this. I did give it to you, right? No, you didn't give me anything. I get it. You wanted that 100,000 yen all to yourself. So now you're playing dumb. Is that it? No, honestly have no idea what this is all about. By now, he's all worked up and getting red in the face. Look, you might have amnesia, but that excuse ain't gonna fly with me. The amnesia has nothing to do with it. He doesn't seem to want to believe me, no matter what I say. Come on, just hurry up and give it back. Otherwise, I'm gonna start bawling here, real loud. He's going to cry? Seriously? This guy's a real piece of work. Well, what's it gonna be? Gonna make a grown man cry? It would certainly be pretty embarrassing if he starts sobbing now. But I can't exactly give him back a magazine I never had. The elevator doors open. Well, if it isn't our little entrepreneur. We've been looking for you. It's the two thugs from before. There's no avoiding them this time. Asao Ozu and his underling, Yutaro Sugawa, members of the Tenryugumi Yakuza Syndicate. Ozu is quite frightening when angry. His nickname is Ozu the Ogre. But despite his strong emotions, he is very logic-driven. Sugawa is the archetypal punk who likes to get into scuffles, but he's also a really good cook. Yipes! The man dragged Mr. Nagishita into the elevator. Save me, Tama! He grabs hold of my hand. Hey, let go of me! Great! Now I'm in the elevator, too. The doors are shutting. Now there, Mr. Nagishita, says the bald-headed man. There's nowhere else to run. His tone is polite, but also pretty foreboding. Whoa, wait, just hold on. I can get you the money. I'm just about to get loads of it. Enough of your poppycock, snarls the younger guy. Poppycock, balderdash, claptrap, straight up nonsense. Taken from the Dutch, poppycock, meaning soft dunk. I really mean it this time. Please, you have to believe me. I can pay you 100,000 right now. 100,000? You're really carrying around that much? Asked the bald man. No, not me. The girl. The man turned to eye me in unison. She's holding onto something that's worth 100,000 yen. Huh? The sudden turn in the conversation has me all flustered. Tama, please. Yanagishita says. Just hand it over. I already told you, I don't know what you're talking about. The elevator stops at the first floor. The doors open. Oh! Standing on the other side of the doors is the guy I ran into earlier. Hana's father. The bald-headed man snarls. Toyama! I just get the next one. Hana's father bawls like a startled hare. The bald man and his cronies stare after him. Now's my chance! Nagishita hisses. He darts out of the elevator and makes a run for it. Hey! After him! Shouts the bald man. After who? Him? Or him? Just start with Toyama! The two thugs race after Hana's father. They've left me all by myself. I'm worried enough to think about going after them, but before too long I've lost sight of them all. For a long time I just stand there, dumbfounded, like a hurricane victim lingering in the aftermath. What a day this has been. Maria, jeśli myślisz, że miałaś dzień, to czekam aż się dowiesz o dniu twojego starego. When I finally get my wits about me, I realize I'm pretty hungry. That's right, I didn't get to eat lunch. I head to the 4th floor, where the restaurants are. Since I really don't want to run into Yanagishita and those other guys again, I decide to take the escalator. As I'm riding it up, I hear a commotion coming from the floor below. It's a man's voice, shouting angrily. Out of my way! Come on! I paid the outburst no heed, and let the escalator take me up. Okej, tu już timeline wrócił gdzie trzeba, więc kończmy godzinę 14. Kiedy Achi wpadł na Marię, myśląc, że to Hitomi. Still, you couldn't just leave her alone. The kidnappers might well be closing in. He stayed in pursuit of her, trying not to draw too much attention. He lost track of her somewhere near the elevators. What is her deal? Unsure of what else he should do, he headed back down to the rendezvous point on the second floor. And here, right, he spotted Hitomi heading down the escalator ahead of him. Hitomi! Achi shouted. But his voice vanished into the noise of the crowd, and she disappeared onto the first floor. Damn it! Achi rushed down the escalator. He took the steps 2, 3, 5 at a time. He made it to the first floor and looked around. There was Hitomi, about to take a different escalator back up. Why is she doing this? He waved his arms to get her attention, but she didn't notice and headed right back up. Down, up. What the heck is she thinking? As she sped around and got on the upward escalator. Out of my way! Come on! He shoved people aside as he ran up the moving stairs. But he saw no sign of Hitomi when he reached the second floor. He'd lost track of her completely. Oh, come on! This is ridiculous. Achi's shoulders slumped. He felt exhausted, but he kept up his search, scurrying one floor after another, until eventually he made it down to the second basement level. Had she grown too impatient waiting for Kanan and gone off searching for the blue minivan again? I think I can handle myself from here. He thought back to what Hitomi had said earlier. Damn it! She's not gonna be okay by herself. He pounded his fist into the wall in frustration. Please stop. That was Hitomi's voice. Hitomi. Achi moved faster than he could think. Achi, she called back. A pair of thugs had grabbed her by both arms. Achi stomped his way towards them. Get your hands off her, he shouted. Huh? What's it to you, pal? The older of the two, a middle-aged fellow, turned to Achi with a sneer. He looked familiar somehow. Hitomi shook herself free of the man and ran over to Achi. It's no use trying to act tough, buddy. We're just trying to get back what we owed. Don't make us have to get rough with ya. What you owed? Hitomi, do you owe people money? No, I don't. They just came after me and started going about 2 million yen. She looked just as baffled by the situation as Achi was. If you're gonna blame someone, blame your boss, the older man said. He gestured to his lackey. A feral gleam flashed in the young punk's eyes. It was the look of a man who couldn't resist dishing out a beatdown. He brought up his fists and shifted his feet, shadowboxing a few quick jabs with his left hand. He looked to Achi like the guy was an experienced boxer. Hold on, Hitomi said. What do you mean, my boss? Say what? Yanagishita. Who the hell do you think? The young punk shuffled closer, face still menacing. Then his expression changed. Hey. Hold on. Are you Achi Endo? Yeah, that's right. Well, ain't that lucky? Getting to throw down with you like this. The punks are pleased indeed. Pleased indeed. I've heard all sorts of rumors about you, you know? Let's see how true they are. Achi didn't like his chances in a straight-up fight with a trained boxer. What should he do? Słuchajcie. To jest wyszkolony bokser. PJ'a by rozjebał. Ale czy rozjebałby Achiego? Achiego, który posiada esencję Wikilanda Jakuziarza. O, przepraszam, to... Jaki kurwa ran. Jaki kurwa ran. Tu się altaby niestety obserwają. Dobra, G9 nie jest pizdeczką, zwłaszcza jak to kto inny oberwie. No i poza tym musimy uratować Hitomi, to też jest taki mały problem. He had to go for broke. His best chance was to hope for an opening, deliver a low kick. A kick using the foot or shin to strike the opponent in the thigh, just above the knee. In karate, this is known as Gendan Mawashigeri. Since the legs are longer than the arms, this is an effective technique against boxers. He needed to time it perfectly, but his opponent took a step forward. Humph! With a loud breath, the thug shot out his left arm. No! Achi shed his stance and unleashed a low kick. Nie no, kurwa, orbitala zarzucił. Suddenly, the elevator doors opened right nearby. Achi and the punk both stopped in mid-attack. A miserable-looking older man stood in the elevator. At the sight of him, the punk's face went red with rage. You! Toyama! Going up! The man in the elevator hurriedly closed the doors. The two thugs rushed toward him, but the elevator had already begun heading back upward. Come on! After him! The older man shouted. The young punk raced up the stairs. You stay right where you are, the older fellow added, glaring at Hitami. Then he followed after his lackey. Does he really think we're dumb enough to just wait here? Achi scoffed. Achi, I've been looking all over for you. Hitami gave him an angry swat on the chest. For me? What are you talking about? You weren't waiting where you said you'd be. Yeah, because you went up to another floor. What do you mean? I went right to where you said. On the second floor. Huh? This wasn't quite adding up. The second floor? What are you talking about? You went up to the third floor. No, I didn't. Wait, what? None of this makes any sense. Achi felt like his brain was getting scrambled. Well, anyway, at least I found you safe and sound. Yeah. The two smiled at one another. What's with those clothes? Hitami's new outfit was completely different from the clothes she'd had on earlier. I tried on a few things, but wound up deciding on this. You tried other stuff on? Ah, okay. That explains it, Achi said. At least now things sorta made sense. That's nice, you know? What is? Your clothes, I mean. They look good on you. Thank you. Heh. Wow. I'm actually blushing now. Libas już i pociągnęli zęby tym słynnym Colgate'em. I mają jeden kolor. It kinda made me blush to say it. Ashi and Hitami shyly avoided each other's eyes. Oh, so hey, Achi said, eager to change the subject. Do you still have that magazine? Oh right, yeah. I was going to just throw it away, but I couldn't. How come? I haven't been able to find the right kind of receptacle. Newspapers and magazines are supposed to be kept separate from normal trash, right? Hitami scanned the surroundings for a suitable bin. Wait, are you serious? Yeah. You're thinking about proper recycling now? Of all times? This is love. This is love. Is that weird? Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I think you might just be perfect. Achi found himself blushing even harder now. Tama! A sudden yell snapped him out of his embarrassment. The sketchy-looking fellow who'd given her the magazine was scampering down the stairs toward them. Great, Achi said. The weirdo's back. The man ignored him though, and leaned in close to Hitomi. You do still have it! He snatched the magazine from Hitomi's hands. Yes, this one hasn't been scratched off yet. The man hunkered down on the floor and began scratching away at the scratch cards stapled into the centerfold. Wait! Don't let him have that! Another man came swooping out of nowhere and yanked the magazine away. It was the other fellow who'd appeared in the elevator minutes before. You can't do that! That's mine! The sketchy-looking man clutched at the older newcomer. Let go! No way! I said let go! And I said no way! The two were fighting right in front of the exit, keeping Achi and Hitomi from leaving. How did you like this? The older man shouted, scratching away haphazardly at the ticket. Now it's just a worthless scrap of paper. Ah, my 100,000 yen! You mean my 100,000 yen? Then the middle-aged fellow looked back down on the ticket. Ah! What are the odds? Somehow, in his random scratching, it happened to land himself a winner. Give it! No way! The two men took off, engaged in a running battle for the ticket. No, stary Traveler jest szefem gazety, który zrobił loterię zdrabkową, żeby się lepiej sprzedawała, ale ją źle wydrukował. Pod światło widać, jakie są znaczki. I teraz to pierdolca, że no, jak chłopak wygra 100 tysięcy, to jest 100 tysięcy więcej w długach, więc teraz się biją o gazetę. Aha, what was the deal with... Zresztą... What was the deal with those two? I'm not sure. Achi and Hitami could only stand there, dumbfounded. On the other hand, hey, look at the time. It's almost 3. O, widzę, Tewery wierzy w jakby przewagę wieku, jednak jeśli ty, Libacjusz, Traveler Loyalty, że polski czy japoński, ale Traveler musi wygrać. The two headed hurriedly for the Gigo back entrance. But just as they were nearing the doors, the shutters dropped down in front of them. Whoa, what gives? Tu przypomnę, zabójca z Raską poszedł na ostatnim streamie do security i nakazał skontaminowanie centrum handlowego. poza jednym głównym wejściem, żeby się móc zaczaić. Karol, jako tiebreaker, czemu sądzisz, że Toyama jednak mimo wieku by wygrał? Jest bardziej zdeterminowany, myślisz? Due to maintenance. All entrances other than the main entrance on the first floor have been closed. We apologize for the inconvenience. Customers wishing to leave, please use the main entrance on the first floor. Achi glared at the loudspeaker. It looked like there was no exit through the back after all. No, trochę tak, obaj są comedy coded, ale Toyama jest też depression coded czasami. A, to prawda, jednak jeśli to jest trochę ADHD, jak zobaczy $10 na ulicy, to straci atencję. Ups, przepraszam. Bo tutaj fokusowanie się sypie. She glared at the loudspeaker. It looked like there was no exit through the back after all. You got a really bad preposition about this. You mean premonition? Hitami had gotten quicker to butt in with her corrections. Holding on to their premonitions then, the two hurried their way up the stairwell. As Hitami tried to head out the first floor entryway, Achi yanked her back. Careful! What's the matter? Is that guy? Huh? Hitami's expression stiffened. Slipping behind a nearby pillar, Achi pointed to the man with the cane, who was keenly eyeing shoppers as they came and went. Well, this bites. No way we're getting out with him there. Achi, Hitami whispered in his ear. Behind us. Achi glanced back and saw the two goons walking in their direction. Uh-oh. If those two caused a scene like before, the assassin would notice them for sure. Aha! The younger punk had spotted them. Damn it! Achi thought, gritting his teeth. Heep! But the thuggish pair let out the teensy squeak and then darted off in a different direction, vanishing from view. To jest dlatego, że już w żółtym timeline'ie Maria im skapała dupska. What the heck? Achi and Hitami watched them go, unsure what to make of the sudden retreat. Well, anyway, Achi said after a moment. Now we can try to find another way out. Taking Hitami by the hand, he headed back into the shopping area. The back entrance on the first floor? That was a no-go. The other emergency exits were also locked down, which meant that the main entrance on the first floor really was the only choke point in or out. It was almost time for them to meet Kanaan. They needed to find some way to bust out of here. The pair headed back toward the main entrance. Then, they saw the man with the cane again, heading in their direction. He hadn't seen them yet, but there was no way they'd avoid him if they didn't do something quick. Guess for now we've gotta go up, Achi said to Hitami. They started racing up the nearest escalator, which was descending from above. My bad, coming through. Sorry, please excuse us. They fought and shoved their way past a stream of people, riding in the other direction. They could see the second floor now. Achi figured they'd be in the clear once they got there. But then, a large woman appeared at the top of the escalator, heading down. She was the one who'd been in the Chinese restaurant on the 4th floor. The one who'd supposedly packed an entire buffet into her belly. She was wide enough that Achi and Hitami would never be able to slip past her. O nie, mają Snorlax moment. Hey, out of the way! Achi shouted. But the young woman ignored him. And she tried to push past, but he just bounced off her. Dosłownie Snorlax moment. They were drifting inevitably back down toward the first floor. It was like they were riding a conveyor belt. It was delivering them right to the assassin. This was not good. If they didn't do something soon, they would... Wait a sec. Something must have caught the assassin's eye, and she saw him suddenly rush outside. There was no telling what had just happened, but now there was a chance to escape. Archie and Hitami raced out the door. Czyli asasyn ma jeszcze coś do roboty, poza próbowaniem zajebania Hitomi z wirusem w krwi. I wiemy, że raz się napierdalał z Alcarałanem, więc jakiś tutaj niesnaski, jakiś plot rzeczy z syndykatem też są grane. Outside, the man with the cane was nowhere to be seen. Looks like we're safe. Archie let out a sigh. For now, someone said. Keep your eyes open. The sudden words made the two turn with a start. Kanan was standing right behind them. She'd gotten this close, and neither of them had noticed a thing. Dla osób, których nie było na poprzednim streamie, to jest dosłownie mała anime dziewczynka i nie macie pojęcia, jak bardzo dosłownie. She moved with all the skill of an assassin, but she felt a chill shoot through him. Więc nowa godzina, nowimy i... W końcu jak zaczynamy wątki, a nie kończymy, to można po ludzku wybrać, kim dalej gramy. Stawiam wam, moi drodzy, ten wybór i sobie na minutkę pójdę uzupełnić płynę w organizmie. Okej. Dobrze, że Carlos zagłosował, bo gdyby było hashtag nikogo, to byłby karny Kenji. Ale no cóż, dobry gliniarz, Kano, związany z plotem, trzeba grzać. Kano practically died from the car when it arrived on the scene with Inmaru Yamato. The place was teeming with officers and onlookers alike. Out of the way! Please, move aside! Kano forced his way through the throng. Sasayama was lying in a massive pool of blood. Sasayama! Kano rushed to his partner's side. The knife was still embedded deep in Sasayama's belly. Its handle shuddered each time he drew a labored breath. Guess I messed up. Sasayama could only manage a raspy murmur. Please, don't try to talk, Kano urged. Looks like I won't be celebrating the Mrs. birthday. Sasayama drew a small package from his pocket. It had been neatly wrapped and fitted with a pretty little ribbon. Here, give this to Mi-chan for me. Kano shook his head. No way. You can give it to her yourself. You've never met Mi-chan, huh? She's real pretty. Surprised how pretty she... I know. You've told me all about her. Kano, please. Give this to my wife for me. Mustering up the last of his strength, Sasayama pressed the gift into Kano's hand. Sasayama? Sasayama's hand dropped back down into the puddle of blood. A paramedic team finally arrived at the scene. As Sasayama was loaded into the ambulance, Kano felt a surge of rage rolling inside him. Clenching his fist so hard his nails dug into his palm, he marched over to the captive Al-Karawan. You son of a bitch! He wound up for a punch to Al-Karawan's face, only to have his arm caught forcibly by the elbow. Spinning his head around, he fought Stanley standing there. Let go of me, Stanley! But the American had a grip of steel, and Kano's arm wouldn't budge. They allow you to assault suspects here in Japan? Do they? Kano bit his lip, then lowered his shaking fist. No, of course not, he growled. Al-Karawan let out a nasal chuckle as he watched the pair. With a cold glare, Stanley strolled over to him. He leaned in close to whisper something, and all at once, the blood drained from Al-Karawan's face. Visibly shaken, Al-Karawan said something back to Stanley. Stanley gave a slight nod, and left the captive with the police escort. Kano went over to him. Hey, what was that all about? Apparently, Al-Karawan gave Hitami some instructions. Told her to get into a blue minivan that was parked along Dogenzaka. So Stanley's hunch had been correct. But why had Al-Karawan confessed so quickly? How did you get him to talk? Don't need to know that. Turning on his heel, Stanley went to report the news about the blue van to the task force. Kuze immediately directed detectives nearest Dogenzaka to look into it, but they found no blue minivan in the area. The order then came down for all personnel to search for the vehicle. Kano thought back to another item in the Dig diary. Dig Dictum 14. Use the dead as a stepping stone, but be sure to die a stepping stone yourself. In the abstract, Kano could appreciate the nobility of self-sacrifice, but when he thought of Sasayama's blood-stained figure, it wasn't so easy to keep his emotions in check. First time you've ever seen a fellow officer get hurt? Stanley had come back over to him. You don't have time to relax. If you can't keep your anger in, then do something about it. Here and now. Stanley pointed to his own jaw. Hit me. American style. Kano smiled dryly at the unexpected proposal. Czy ja muszę robić głosowanie? Wszyscy wiemy, że pikujemy C. Without a word, Kano threw a punch. Stanley soaked up the rage-fueled blood. His face, a mask of coal. Kano felt all the more miserable in the face of such unflinching resolve. If he weren't such a bumbling clod, Sam I would never have. Hey, don't blame yourself, Stanley said. You guys have been doing better than I expected. More sarcasm, huh? Stanley's mouth curled up sheepishly, and he held his hands wide. Kuz's voice suddenly cut in over the wireless. You've located the blue minivan. It's in Jinanwan Chome, on Koendori. Hitomi might be there. And maybe the kidnapper's ringleader would turn up too. On pure reflex, Kano broke into a run. Stanley followed close behind. They sped through the back streets, making their way toward Koendori. Kano was a pretty fast runner, but Stanley kept up with him without apparent difficulty. We're in the army or something? No, the Marines. United States Marine Corps, a rapid deployment force specializing in amphibious landing operations. An independent branch of the armed forces, along with the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The Marines' motto is Semper Fidelis, Latin for always faithful. It wasn't much further to Koendori. Kano, if we find that van, don't get too close, Stanley warned. It could be a trap. These people will do anything to carry out their goals. Anything, huh? Kano could sense the truth of Stanley's words. He reminded himself that his life could depend on remembering them. He raised his eyes. They were coming up on Koendori. Suddenly, a boom as loud as cannon fire shook the area. Something's wrong, Kano thought. That's no ordinary city noise. A column of black smoke rose up from between two nearby buildings. Passers-by stopped and stared, gasping in alarm. Then, Kano saw flames. This hadn't been an accident. Someone had set off an explosion. The Shibuya precinct wasn't too far from here. Kano recalled the attempted bioterrorism attack on Kasumigaseki. 2 years ago, the Tokyo Metropolitan Public Safety Commission obtained intel of an imminent bioterrorist attack within the city. Immediately afterwards, an unoccupied minivan exploded outside the Metropolitan Police Department, and a device for dispersing a bacterial contagion was discovered at the subway platform at Kasumigaseki Station. Having determined that the city bureaucracy was the target, the Japanese government contacted a terrorist organization responsible in secret, making a deal to put an end to the threat. That incident had begun with a van exploding outside of the Tokyo MPD station. Already, a large crowd of onlookers was gathering. Shouts rose up as they took in the scene. What's going on? What happened? That car is on fire! Kano called into HQ, and quickly slipped around to the back of the burning vehicle. It was a minivan. Peering at the flaming chassis, he could see that there was someone inside. Oh no. Could that be Hitomi? Once they had their hands on the antiviral, the criminals would have no further use for Hitomi Osawa. Already, the body had been charred to ash. At this point, it was hardly recognizable as human anymore. Jeśli pamiętacie, to w trailerku otwierającym całą grę był zatytułowany Wybuch Wano. Co prawda wydawało mi się, że to będzie o 4:28 tytułowej, ale apparently jednak jest w godzinie 15. Dlatego teraz zamiast głosowania zarządzę, że pójdziemy Achim, bo z tego co luźno pamiętam, to na te ostatnie pół godzinki mamy dobrą szansę na fajnym cliffhangerze stanąć. To się pewnie nie uda, bo to, o czym myślę, pewnie będzie z jakimiś 7 hipoutami i tak dalej, ale hej. Warto spróbować. Kanan led them into a narrow back alley. The moment she stopped, Hitomi spoke up. Back alley. Members of SOS don't come by here very much. Word has it that in this place, around 10 years ago, one man beat the crap out of 7 street toughs in the blink of an eye, all by himself. Over time, people have offered various theories. That he was an assassin, that he was some foreign soldier, even that he might have been a ghost. And to this day, the urban legend lives on. Why was my sister kidnapped? Before I answer that, there's something I need to tell you, Kanan said. Her tone was cold and sharp. I've come to Japan because I'm on a mission. I'm not at liberty to discuss all the details. All right. Hitomi gave a slight nod. To answer your question, Maria was kidnapped by mistake. What? Hitomi gasped. But why? Because this kidnapper isn't after Maria. They're after you. Who's after me? The mastermind behind this whole thing, Kanan said. Her tone was matter of fact. Whoa, hold on, Achi interrupted. What do they want Hitomi for? That I cannot say. Well then, who is this person? I can't tell you that either. See, their sex, nationality, age, appearance, just about everything about them is shrouded in mystery. So there's honestly not much I can tell you. Achi and Hitomi stood dumbfounded. What gives? Achi said. So you're saying all you know is that this person has some lame name like Mastermind? Hitomi turned to whisper in his ear. Mastermind isn't actually their name. Mastermind. Originally used solely to refer to someone of remarkable intellect. The term first took on its criminal connotations in the 19th century. I'm here, Kanan spat, because I'm looking for revenge. Revenge? Hitomi asked. What for? This person also killed my friend. Kanan's inscrutable eyes flashed with a threatening gleam. Earlier, you said that it was your fault my sister got kidnapped, Hitomi said. Kanan cast her eyes down. 4 days ago, I managed to learn this criminal's plan. So I got in touch with Maria and told her that you were going to be attacked at that party. So that's why she told me not to go. Hitomi's voice trembled as she spoke. I gave Maria a small GPS tracker to give to you, but I guess you never got it. Global Positioning System. A network of man-made satellites and ground-based control stations providing geolocation data Alternately, a device that makes use of said system. Modern cell phones and vehicle navigation systems use the GPS. Hitami shook her head. I see. She must still have it then. Wait, so then, my sister... The color drained from Hitami's face as she understood. Yes, Kanan replied. Maria acted as a decoy, and let herself get kidnapped in your stead. Hitami swayed on her feet, shocked to the verge of fainting. Achi hurriedly reached out and caught her in his arms. But, wait, he said to Kanan as he held Hitami up. I don't get that either. Why didn't neither of them go? Then nobody would have been kidnapped, right? I mean, why did her sister need to go and act as a decoy? Kanan let out a tiny sigh. If she hadn't gone to the party, the kidnappers would have just found some other opportunity to come after her. Ah, okay. Achi nodded. That sorta makes sense. I'm betting that Maria's plan was to use the GPS to lead me to this guy's hideout. She wanted to keep her sister safe, and also figured she could help me with my mission. It's the sort of scheme she would think of. So then, can't you use the GPS to locate Hitami's sister? Achi asked. Kanan shook her head. The GPS hasn't been powered on since she was kidnapped. It's possible the kidnappers took it from her. Wait, what? So after all that, even you can't find Maria? Achi slammed his shoulders in disappointment. I didn't say that. What do you mean? I got some intel from those syndicate members we met earlier. Apparently, sometime this morning they put Maria into a blue minivan, and since then, they've been moving her all around Shibuya. Achi and Hitami exchanged glances at the mention of the blue minivan. Unfortunately, Kanan continued, those operatives didn't know what the current situation was, exactly. So we're back to the blue van, then? Achi hurriedly explained what they'd been through so far. He mentioned how they'd first seen the blue van where the kidnappers had told Hitami to find it. He also described how first the man with the cane, then a host of others had come after them. He got a little sidetracked there, here and there, but Kanan quietly listened to the end. I see, she muttered. So then, what do you think? Achi asked. Seems like we messed up their scheme a little, huh? Whatever the case, this man with the cane concerns me, Kanan said. I doubt he's working with the others. I don't know what that means. Maybe that's it. Some guy who's involved butts in and throws off their whole plan. Kanan nodded in agreement. Because you and that man with the cane showed up, she said, you couldn't leave the minivan where it was. He took a sensible precaution. But then, if you think about it, isn't this an opportunity for us to turn the tables on Mr. Mastermind? Kanan flashed him a faint speculative smile. I wonder about that. Oh, come on, Achi grumbled. You're such a buzzkill. Any well-made plan has a good, solid outline. Which means that, even after it has come to fruition, it's easy to trace things back to the planner. Is that how that works? Also takie trivia. To jeśli się nie my, to Kanan powinna być młodą Irakijką, ale to japońska gra, więc po prostu nie jest w Azji Wschodniej, to znaczy, że jest westernerem. So she passed the casting. Przynajmniej nie z blondynką, I guess. Is that how that works? By contrast, if you achieve your goals using accidental means, the outline becomes blurred. and it makes it harder for anyone outside looking in to grasp what the actual plan is. Hachi swallowed hard as he took in the gravity of the situation. Well, but I mean, like, if there's an accident, people are gonna for sure panic. Plan or not. The corners of Kanan's lips curled up. Typically, I suppose, she said. But the people who are after Hitami, not only have they put together a perfect plan, they've purposely left certain tiny holes in it. And so we can't even figure out who they are. The outline of the plan is always too blurry. Hachi had no response to that. It was like he was hearing about some completely different world beyond the one he knew. If what Kanan had said was true, he'd been dealing with opponents that were on a level way above his own. In any event, since these people are after you, it would be best if you didn't wander around town anymore, Kanan told him. By now, Hitami had recovered. She stood up straight and shook her head. No, I'm going to find that blue minivan. My sister is in danger because of me. I can't abandon her just to save myself. Yeah, that's right. Hachi patted Hitami on the back. And if that's what you're gonna do, then I don't care who you're up against. I'm with you in this until the end. Heck, it's too late for me to back out now. That ship has already failed. Hitami giggled despite herself. It's already sailed, Hachi. Yeah. Kanan let out another little sigh. Alright. Just make sure you're extra careful, she said. You can't count on getting bailed out of trouble like you have before. I understand, Hitami said. Her eyes showed no trace of doubt or fear. Kanan gave her a slight nod, then quickly disappeared down the alleyway. Right then, Hachi said. Wanna get back to looking for that minivan? Then he stopped, remembering their previous efforts. If they just heedlessly wandered around town, they would probably end up in the same trouble they had encountered before. They'd get chased by the man with the cane, or by the kidnappers, and their search would be interrupted yet again. What should they do then? There had to be a better way. Hachi happened to glance upward, and caught sight of a surveillance camera installed on one of the streetlights. That's it! God! I can't believe I didn't think of it before. No raczej kurwa, Hachi zajęło ci 6 godzin, żeby wpaść na najbardziej oczywisty plan. Hitami peered at him, startled by his sudden shouting. We just need to use my old man's surveillance cameras, and this will be a breeze. Hachi took Hitami by the hand and started running. His destination? A security camera monitoring room in Dogenzaka. Hachi didn't slow his pace until they were nearing their destination. Then, he turned to look back at Hitami. He was about to ask if she was doing alright, when someone close at hand called out to him. Hey, mind if I ask you something? Have you ever heard of SOS? Hachi stopped in his tracks as a stranger stepped in front of him. The guy looked too old to be picking a fight with SOS. Hachi regarded him with suspicion. Yeah, why do you ask? Do you happen to be a member yourself? No, not anymore. The man's eyes flashed with a gleam of recognition. Did this guy know who he was? With a broad grin, the stranger took a step closer. Hachi's heart sank. He couldn't afford to get caught up in some new hassle right now. Hitami flashed him a worried look. Let's go. Hachi and Hitami dodged past the man and hurried onward. Even if the guy was harmless, they needed to be on their guard. There was no telling just how many thugs and assassins were looking for Hitami. Rather than head directly for the surveillance building, Archie decided he better make sure the stranger wasn't up to something. Hitomi followed as he slipped quickly into a back alley. There was no indication that the man was following them. What was that guy's deal? Hitomi asked. No idea, but he sure seemed kinda fishy. Doesn't look like he's coming after us, though. They took a quick detour for another seedy back alley. Then, as they were starting to head toward their original destination, Archie felt a sudden searing pain in his back. Ugh! Glancing over his shoulder, he discovered that one of the foreign syndicate members had crept up and struck him from behind. O nie! To London Norris! O, zamordował mnie! O! Hitomi screamed. Another man suddenly appeared, grabbing her by the arms. Hi, Tommy. Archie tried to reach out to her, but his arm was leaden. His body refused to obey his commands. As the attacker wrenched the knife from his back, Archie felt the blood gushing out of his wound. The two men started to drag Hitomi away. Damn it! He tried to pursue them, but his legs faltered and couldn't find their footing. He was losing blood so fast, he was starting to fade from consciousness. Archie could only watch, impotently, as Hitomi was dragged further and further away. No i taka niestety chłopa spotkała karma za nieudzielenie wywiadu Minorikawie. I obawiam się, że tym akcją zakończymy dzisiejszego streama. Miałem taką drobną nadzieję, że właśnie znajdziemy niebieskiego minivana, bo jak prawdziwi pamiętają z introfilmików w grze, to Hitomi tam była na miejscu, zaglądała do tyłu, gdzie był związany typ z bombą. I właśnie kim jest związany z... Kim jest porwany przez actual kidnaperów typ, który zostanie wysadzony bombą? Dla mnie to był całkiem twist. Actually, jak pierwszy raz grałem, zostawiam wam to pod spekulację. I cóż, dowiemy się już za pół tygodnia we wtorek. Do zobaczenia. Sayonara, koledzy. Do wtorku.